Welcome back, guys, to another show on this channel. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. This is the Jake Ellenbogen channel, and today we have it's been a long time coming, a lot of recording, a lot of, losing everything. As you guys have known, I've had all sorts of issues lately, but we finally have it. Here is the GOAT conversation between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Who is the GOAT? I'm going to be breaking everything down here, giving all the facts. This is going to be another one of those videos where you see a lot of graphics. I know some of you were saying that the graphics are awesome. I know some of you were saying, why more graphics? I just wanted to go this route. I feel like this is the best way. I did all my research, compiled all sorts of data, and just really, tried my best to narrow this thing down and pick a true a true GOAT. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? I want to preface with real quick, no matter who I claim as the GOAT, and if you know me, you probably know where I'm going with this, it doesn't really matter. They're both phenomenal. They both wore 12, so 12 is going to be the GOAT. But I think it's really important to say, when you're talking about the greatest of all time, it's not about the most accomplished. It's not about, who won the most titles, who won the most MVPs. It's about who is simply the best player. And, I mean, you could argue neither of these guys are the best player ever, because Jerry Rice has records that will never be touched. And there's a good chance that Patrick Mahomes could touch both of these guys by the end of his career. So we're not going to get into that, though. Just wanted to throw some respect towards Jerry Rice. But who is the GOAT? Well, we shall begin. So our first little graphic here is pretty, wanted to throw this out there. Tom Brady thinks Aaron Rodgers is better and Aaron Rodgers thinks Tom Brady is better. So who is? Well, the reason I said this and the reason I threw it in there is Brady actually has a quote out there saying he'd throw for 7,000 yards every year if he was in the New England Patriots system. That is heavy and lofty praise from Tom Brady, and that is definitely him proclaiming that Aaron Rodgers is indeed the better quarterback. He's so much more talented than me, Brady says to Ian O'Connor of ESPN. Aaron Rodgers, right after the Super Bowl, in which he saw Tom Brady beat Matt Ryan on the grandest stage of them all, in overtime 34-28, Aaron Rodgers had this to say: Tom Brady's Super Bowl record ends most discussions on GOAT debate. Basically, he's come out and said, Tom Brady's better than me, he's done things that I have simply not. So, really interesting here. Both guys really, if you ask them who the GOAT was, neither would say them. And it's funny, there are two guys that have been considered to have big egos. I wouldn't say they both have big egos. I would say, they're both competitors, but a lot of people believe that they have large egos. Well, that kind of defeats that, doesn't it? Moving on, who is Aaron Rodgers? Well, he's the Green Bay Packers franchise quarterback from 2008 on. He had to sit behind Brett Favre for 2 years. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion. He's 1-0 in Super Bowl appearances. A 2-time MVP, 25 game-winning drives, 17 fourth-quarter comebacks, 8 out of 13 seasons he has started with the Packers. They've won 10 games. In 2013, he led the team to 6-3. Unfortunately, he was injured, and the Packers barely made the wild card at 8-7-1. 2017, he leads the team to 4-3, goes down with an injury. Packers go 7-9, miss the playoffs without him. He's only had 2 seasons in which he's thrown double-digit interceptions. He is phenomenal. Moving on to Tom Brady. Who is Tom Brady? I mean, you have to know him by now. New England Patriots franchise quarterback from 2001 to 2019. He's now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 14-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 6-time Super Bowl champion. He's 6-3 in 9 appearances. 3-time MVP, 47 game-winning drives, 38 fourth-quarter comebacks. Patriots won at least 10 games every single year. Brady was the starter. 2008, he leads the team to 1-0. Matt Castle goes 11-4 the rest of the way. After he tears his ACL, the Patriots miss the playoffs. 2016, he was suspended for 4 games. Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett led the Patriots to 3-1 to open up the record. And he's thrown over 10 interceptions in a season, 11 out of 21 seasons. So both we're dealing with top-notch guys here. Of course, as we know, Aaron Rodgers, you look at him and he's a lot younger. Brady's trying to play until he's 45, and Aaron Rodgers, we don't really know how long he's going to play. But here are the career stats since 2000, which is when Tom Brady entered the league as a 6th-round pick, 199th overall, out of Michigan. So, statistically, you have 185 games played by Aaron Rodgers. He's started since 2008. He played briefly in 2007. 121, 63-1, 64.8 completion percentage, 50,046 yards, 397 touchdowns, 88 interceptions, 103.1 passer rating. Then you look over at Tom Brady. 295 games started, 226 and 69, 63.9 completion percentage, 77,871 yards, 569 touchdowns, 190 interceptions, 96.9 passer rating. Pretty incredible. I mean, both these guys are absolutely upper echelon. You can't really say enough about them. I will say honorable mention, Peyton Manning is not mentioned in this video. I do love Peyton Manning. I think he belongs in the conversation, but I really narrowed it down to these two. This is the GOAT conversation, in my opinion. This is what we always hear. This is where the comparisons always start. So I figured I really wanted to tackle Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. And I think it's a great comparison because since Tom Brady is still playing and Aaron Rodgers started in 2008, I don't think you'd get much of a comparison with Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning. It'd be very, very hard to do that since Peyton Manning retired not long ago, but pretty, it wasn't yesterday. It's been a little bit. So I liked this comparison. Now here's an interesting one, folks. I don't know if you've seen this. I really don't know because I really haven't seen it. I figured I'd throw it in here just to kind of give you a little bit of a, projection. We take the stats from 2000 for Tom Brady, which are the same as last slide. But in this one, we took Aaron Rodgers and projected his stats the rest of the way. And I'm not saying I just decided, I'll give him this and I'll give him that. I took his average season and I added it basically 7 more times to match Tom Brady's 20 years as a starter. He's played 21 years, but he barely played in 2000. So matched his 20 years as a starter in the NFL, and you get 284.6 games started for Aaron Rodgers, 186.1 wins to 96.9 losses, 64.8 completion percentage, 76,993 yards, and 993.8 yards, 610.8 touchdowns, 135.4 interceptions, 103.1 passer rating. So looking at this, and of course he would have to play until he was 44 at the very least to hit this, and he'd have to play at a very high level like Tom Brady's been doing. So let's just put that out there for the start. Tom Brady is playing some incredible football at his age, but Aaron Rodgers, with these projections, would surpass Brady in touchdowns, would have fewer interceptions. He has a better passer rating. His yards would be comparable. He has a better completion percentage. I mean, the record isn't going to be there, and the games started aren't going to be there, but that is a really good projected comparison, if you ask me. Now, I don't want to say that Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT based on this comparison. I don't want to say Tom Brady's the GOAT because he has more yards. I'm not going to make a decision based on this projection slide, but I thought it was interesting. I thought I'd throw it in there for you. That way you can really see, what the two look like side by side with a projected look. Now, moving on, we have career rushing yards. I threw this in here because I think it's a disservice to not include Aaron Rodgers' rushing stats. Aaron Rodgers has what some guys have in a season as a passer for rushing in his career. And he's not a rusher. He's not a scrambling quarterback, but he can take off. And, he's had a 35-yard run as his longest, so he can definitely do that. But 29 rushing touchdowns, I mean, he's played 110 games less than Tom Brady, has 7 more carries, and averages 5.1 yards per carry. That is incredible. I mean, he is very efficient, and that's the thing. The name of the game with Rodgers, it's efficiency. It's efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. And Aaron Rodgers, at the end of the day, because of his mobility, he's left so much on the field, or he hasn't left so much on the field. He's done so much with nothing and improvised on the fly than Tom Brady has. And that's one of the things you have to keep in mind. His mobility makes him special. It's the same reason why everyone's talking about Patrick Mahomes as the best in the league. Mobility is the name of the game today. You look at the top quarterbacks in the league, you look at Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray. What do they all have in common? They're all mobile. And that's really the thing. Rodgers, his play adapts to the next level of passing attack in this league. And that is the thing that makes him so crazy, is he can play in all different. I think he's errorless. Whereas Tom Brady, we'll see, because, if he continues to play, he's moving towards this era where we're talking half the league is going to be mobile quarterbacks. It's a mobile quarterback game. When you have, edge defenders running 4-5s off the edge, you have to have a guy that's going to be able to escape. And that's the thing. I don't worry about Aaron Rodgers escaping. I do worry about Tom Brady, because when he's, blitzed, he's somewhat of a statue in the pocket, especially now that he's older. Moving on, statistically since 2008. So I wanted to give Tom Brady his credit because, we're only going to compare these two for what they've done, when they've both been in the league. And I want to give Tom Brady his credit to show you how truly great he is, because it's not fair to erase 7 years of him as a starter, without mentioning it. So we're going to compare Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady from 2008, but I wanted to make sure I pointed that out there, point out the Super Bowls, all of that. Looking at these stats, they're pretty identical. The thing is, right off the cuff, you have to look at Aaron Rodgers and his touchdowns that are more than Tom Brady and his interceptions that are fewer than Tom Brady by a little bit. Tom Brady's yards are always there. It seems like he has more yards than Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers appears to be more efficient, and he has a higher completion percentage. The wins go to Tom Brady, but they actually have the same amount of games started at 185, which is really crazy because if you think about it, if we're looking at 2008, since it's 2008, Tom Brady lost that entire season due to an ACL tear, and that pretty much equals how much Aaron Rodgers has lost due to some injuries, including the two that I previously mentioned, one in which they made the playoffs at 8-7-1, and the other they missed the playoffs at 7-9. Moving on, the playoff stats since 2008. Now, this is a really interesting thing here because Tom Brady's are incredible, but here's the thing. Tom Brady is also, you look at that sack percentage, 6.2 to 3.9, I think that definitely, stands out. But, 16.8 record, he's played 24 games to Aaron Rodgers' 18. So he's played 6 more games than Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers still has the higher completion percentage. He has a lot fewer yards because he's played 6 less games, but he's been, again, name of the game, very efficient, 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. So I'd have to imagine in 2 more games, Aaron Rodgers probably would have hit 47 and would have had fewer interceptions. I don't think he's going to throw 9 interceptions in those 2 games. So if you look at this, again, it's the common factor here is that Tom Brady is winning the yards, but Aaron Rodgers is more consistent with touchdowns, interceptions, completion percentage. So far, the nod is going to Aaron Rodgers as far as more efficient. Tom Brady is definitely throwing the ball down the field, and he is getting those yards, though, based on what we're seeing. So, moving on here, we have the playoff outcomes. Figured go right into that. Really interesting here, though. The playoff outcomes, I want to show you because of course we know Aaron Rodgers is 1-0 in the Super Bowl, and we know Tom Brady's 6-3. But from 2008, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, they both missed the playoffs in 2008, which is kind of bizarre. I don't think that is ever going to overlap again, but we'll see. Both in 2009 lost the wild card. Rodgers won a Super Bowl, so he was actually 1-1 there, or 1-2 as far as getting the Super Bowl and winning versus losing earlier in the year, and Brady was 0-3 to that point. 2011, he lost the division title. Tom Brady lost the Super Bowl to the Giants. 2012, Aaron Rodgers lost the division title lost the divisional round to the Cardinals in a 45-31 shootout. The wild card 51-45. That was the Cardinals shootout. 45-31. In 2012, he lost in the divisional round, and Tom Brady lost the AFC championship game 28-13. 2013, you had Aaron Rodgers losing the wild card game to the 49ers 23-20. Tom Brady loses the AFC title game 26-16. Then 2014, the Patriots win the Super Bowl 28-24 over the Seattle Seahawks, and the Packers lose 28-22 to that team. Then 2015, divisional round 26-20, Packers lose. Patriots lose the AFC title 20-18. That was the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning his last year. 2016, the Packers lose the NFC title. Patriots win 34-28 to the same team that the Packers lost to, the Falcons. 2017, the Packers missed the playoffs due to Aaron Rodgers being placed on IR. 2017, the Patriots lose the Super Bowl 41-33 to the Philadelphia Eagles. 2018, Aaron Rodgers misses the playoffs. No injuries, just definitely not a year to remember. At times, it almost felt like the team wanted to lose so Mike McCarthy would be out the door. However, the Patriots, on the flip side, beat the Rams in the Super Bowl 13-3 for Tom Brady to win his third Super Bowl since 2008. 2019 was very interesting. Once again, the Packers lost to the 49ers 37-20, whereas the Patriots lost in the wild card to the Titans. So that's up to 2019. And then we have 2020 here. The Packers are 8-3. One of their losses was head-to-head to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Very interesting there. Their second seed in the NFC. The Buccaneers are 7-5. They're coming off back-to-back losses between the Rams and the Chiefs. They are the sixth seed in the NFC. So we will see if both teams make it. We will see if both teams play each other. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady have really they have not played each other much. So it's always interesting when the two face off. But we do know Tom Brady and the Bucs got the nod and won the game over Aaron Rodgers. Moving on, though. This is the interesting thing here, folks. When you look at the playoff outcomes, all very intriguing, but when you look at the playoff supporting cast, I know you're probably laughing. I put Mark McCarthy versus Belichick like you didn't know that. But I have to remind people that, we're talking about the greatest coach ever in Bill Belichick versus Mike McCarthy, who is just a train wreck over in Dallas. Doesn't look to me like he's an NFL coach at this point, and he hasn't gotten his stuff together. But 18 games, 24, 505 points the Packers scored to 686 the Patriots scored. The average of that, points per game, the Packers averaged 26.83, whereas the Patriots averaged 28.58. These are in, since 2008, the playoffs. Opposing points per game. Well, opposing points, you have 483 from Rodgers, 536 from the Patriots, 483 from the Packers, excuse me. So then opposing points per game, this is the craziest stat, and no one talks about this. When I say Aaron Rodgers is playing with a lot less than Tom Brady is, and when Tom Brady said he could throw for 7,000 yards, he wasn't kidding, although I don't even want to go about what he could do in that offense, in that system. I think it's more about the supporting cast as far as the defense. Aaron Rodgers, we saw, the shootout against, the Cardinals, that 51-45 game. You think that's on Aaron Rodgers for giving up 51 points? That's on the defense. They gave up 28.5 points per game to the Patriots, who gave up 22.3. So the point differential is astounding. Bill Belichick's group and Tom Brady, in the playoffs were basically winning games on average by a touchdown. Mike McCarthy and the Packers, yeah, they're 10-8, but they're 10-8 with a point differential in the negative. So on average, they were losing games by 1.2 points per game. That is insane. And that goes to show you, if the stats are comparable with Rodgers and Brady, then, he is doing his job, and the defense was not. And the coaching staff was not. This is what happens when you have two of the greats. You have one guy that has the best coach ever. You have another guy that has an average to below average coach. And a guy that has a very good defense. Well, I won't say that because I'll get into it right now. We look at the defense year by year. Don't just listen to me. We'll just look at this together. I mean, Aaron Rodgers' defense, 22nd, 7th, 2nd, 19th, 11th, 24th, 13th, 12th, 21st, 26th, 22nd, 9th, 17th. So he's had 3 top 10 defenses. And in those 3 years, he's won a Super Bowl. 2010, when they were second in the league. Tom Brady, 8th, 5th, 8th, 15th, 9th, 10th, 8th, 10th, 1st, 5th, 7th, 1st, 13th. Tom Brady has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 top 10 defenses since 2008. And Aaron Rodgers has had 3. So that is definitely something that you can't deny. That's something that has to be said. Wow. So the postseason is where everybody wants to obviously say, Brady takes the nod. But like I've said, and I know Aaron Rodgers has to win those games. But when you look at the games that, Tom Brady lost since 2008, in the playoffs, they scored 14, 21, 17, 13, 16, 18, 33, and 13. Those are the losses. If you look at Aaron Rodgers, it's 45, 20, 31, 20, 22, 20, 21, 20. Right there, there's a lot of those games in which Rodgers did as much as he could, and that defense did not help him. So that's something to add there. Moving on to running games per year. Here's an interesting one, okay? 17, 14, 24, 27, 20th. 7th, 11th, 12th, 20th, 17th, 22nd, 15th, 13th. That's Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady, 6th, 12th, 9th, 20th, 7th, 9th, 18th, 30th, 7th, 10th, 5th, 18th, 20th, 28th. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is 6 top 10 running games for the Patriots with Tom Brady. Believe that. Yep, that's 7 actually. Whereas Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, 7th. So that was once. So they had 1 to 7. And then you look at the next slide here. We have receiving weapons since 2008. No, I won't be reading every single speck of information on the screen, but we'll talk about it a little bit. Now, Tom Brady is with the Bucs now. He was with the Patriots. One thing I want to point out. Julian Edelman, 36 touchdowns. He was there for 10 years with Tom Brady. You look at, Amendola, 5 years, 12 touchdowns. Here's the interesting thing. Aaron Hernandez, 3 years, 18 touchdowns. The craziest thing about this is Gronkowski has 83 touchdowns, which is such a disparity between everyone else. To put it in perspective, Mike Evans has 11 touchdowns. He's played 12 games this season. Tom Brady is severely, he's relying heavily on those big guys. Wes Welker, look what he did. I mean, talk about the fact he had 29 touchdowns. Randy Moss had 27. So I do find that very interesting. And I feel like the disparity in touchdowns kind of shows you that, when push came to shove, Tom Brady was very reliant on a few guys. I don't know if that hurts him in the argument, but I think it helps, it definitely helps Aaron Rodgers because, you have 55 touchdowns to Devontae Adams, you have 47 to Randall Cobb, you have 21 to Donald Driver. Jermichael Finley had 20 before he had his neck injury that ended his career. 38 for Greg Jennings, 43 for James Jones, 69 for Jordy Nelson. And I, included Marquez Valdez-Scantling because he went over 1,000 yards in his career, so I figured he's worth a mention. Guys that aren't mentioned, well, you have guys like, what Tanyan's doing, Robert Tanyan, and Alan Lazard. But aside from that, I mean, there's not a ton of receivers that Rodgers has had. I would make the argument in the last 3 years when, last 4 years when the Packers got Devontae Adams. We didn't know at the time, but Rodgers pretty much by age 33 finally got his best receiver. And I'm not saying Jordy Nelson wasn't a stud, but he never had a Gronkowski or a Randy Moss. And if we say, well, Randy Moss, Tom Brady only had him 3 years. And if we're only counting 2008, he only had him 2, including 1 full year, which is fair. But what I would say is that when you look at this, you can't see one surefire Hall of Famer on one side, but you can see 2 on the other side. And Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski on Tampa, you can't say Tom Brady's never had weapons. So is it fair to hurt him in that regard, penalize him? Maybe not. But when we're talking about who is the greatest of all time and it's this close to decide, you have to use that. You have to use everything. That's the point. You have to make every sort of argument you can. You have to really pick and prod your way through this thing. You have to open it up like, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, just imagine what, if Aaron Rodgers and because here's the thing, I want to add this. Ted Thompson, the GM for the Packers for years, he didn't want to make a trade. He didn't want to go out and get a guy. He was a very conservative GM. I mean, we've seen the Patriots go out and make a trade. They went out and got Randy Moss. They went out and they got Mohamed Sanu. It didn't work out. They went out and got Brandon Cooks. That did work out. But I mean, Ted Thompson refused to make a trade. So, there could have been an option where at some point Aaron Rodgers could have had AJ Green, or he could have had Odell Beckham Jr., or he could have had Brandon Cooks or somebody like that. Instead, for the most part, he had a B+ receiver group. I wouldn't say he ever had an A, but he had a B+. So I don't want to just absolutely trash Tom Brady on this slide, but I do think that you have to mention that, I mean, the disparity here between talent. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had talent, but when you look at what the Patriots had with Tom Brady and what he has with, Tampa, I mean, you could argue Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are better, than anybody on that list, talent-wise, besides Devontae Adams, who might be the best receiver in football. So that's the interesting thing there. Moving on. Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady regular season and postseason under pressure stats. So this is my last slide before I make a decision on who the GOAT is. Okay. Very interesting here. You have 203 games played versus 209 due to the injuries. Tom Brady, and not the injuries, due to the fact that we're including postseason. Tom Brady actually has fewer dropbacks than Aaron Rodgers, playing 6 games more. And that's dropbacks under pressure. Aaron Rodgers has 48.1 completion percentage to Tom Brady's 46.68 under pressure. 11,053 yards for Aaron Rodgers, 12,483 yards for Tom Brady. 94 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers, 90 for Tom Brady. Again, he's had 6 more than Aaron Rodgers. The interceptions are just astounding to me. In 6 more games, Tom Brady has been picked off 52 times under pressure to Aaron Rodgers' 28. Aaron Rodgers, in 6 less games, has been sacked 140 more times than Tom Brady. So, what do we take away from this? Well, since it's from 2008, we can take away that Aaron Rodgers has not had the offensive line Tom Brady has, because there's no way you're going to tell me the more mobile quarterback has been sacked 140 times more than Tom Brady with 6 less games played. You can also say, regardless of situation, Aaron Rodgers, whether it's postseason, whether it's regular season, whether it's under pressure stats, Aaron Rodgers is absolutely incredible when it comes to touchdown to interception ratio. Whereas Tom Brady always has more yards. Always. In every single slide, he's had more yards than Aaron Rodgers. But the completion percentage and the efficiency is all on Aaron Rodgers' side. So what are we to take from that? Aaron Rodgers gets pressured more. He throws more touchdowns. He throws fewer picks. Tom Brady throws more yards. He has a fewer completion percentage. Well, folks, I've made my decision. It wasn't just because of that slide. It's because of all of them. Aaron Rodgers is indeed the GOAT. Look, I know what you're thinking, okay? But the evidence proves that Rodgers is better than Brady with less around him. At the very least, it is enough to be comparable with less around him. So you'd have to imagine, if that's the thing, if you're not going to say Rodgers' stats are better than Brady with less around him, you at least have to acknowledge the fact that Rodgers is doing comparable work to Tom Brady in a lesser situation with lesser talent. Now, Tom Brady said, Aaron Rodgers could throw for 7,000 yards yearly in New England. I think that's a little crazy, because as I mentioned throughout this video, Aaron Rodgers, to me, it's not about how much more talented he is than Tom Brady. It's about what he did with less. It's about, the fact he doesn't have those accolades because he didn't have the defense and he didn't have the coaching staff. I don't think you could say you can go back and look at a Packers game where Aaron Rodgers cost a team a win in the playoffs, as much as you can say Mike McCarthy's horrible decision-making and the Packers' defense cost them a win. So that's the interesting thing here. And when you think about it, Brady is absolutely special. And winning 6 Super Bowls is incredible. And it does, it changes the game. But you also have to wonder how much credit Bill Belichick deserves with that. And I say you could probably split it. But the consistency with what was around Tom Brady is because Bill Belichick got the right guys around. He kept the right coaching staff. They developed. They had a system. Aaron Rodgers had a year where everything came together, finally, and he won a Super Bowl. But Mike McCarthy held that team back. The defense held that team back. Ted Thompson's extremely conservative GMing held that team back. I mean, most of you guys are Rams fans that follow my channel. Les Snead went out, got Ndamukong Suh, went out and traded for Brandon Cooks and, Jalen Ramsey and Sammy Watkins. I mean, he was trying to make this team better. He was trying to grab that piece to change the game. They went out and they signed Robert Woods. They drafted Cooper Kupp. They did things to put themselves in that position to win a Super Bowl in 2008 and 2018. And it didn't work, but that's what they've done, and they're trying to do it now. Ted Thompson with the Packers did not do that. They did not make any of the trades that they probably should have, didn't put them over the hump. They didn't get Rodgers a true number one receiver until Devontae Adams. That's the thing. Patriots, they went out, they struck iron. They went out and got guys like Stephon Gilmore. Ends up winning Defensive Player of the Year, the hero in Super Bowl 2018. They went out and, they go out and get a guy like Randy Moss. Yeah, sure, it was only 3 years, but Randy Moss was huge for Tom Brady. They went to the Super Bowl and almost went undefeated for the entire season. See, that's the thing. That's the difference. Aaron Rodgers was in a system or rather an organization that didn't really care as much about winning as Tom Brady, and the Patriots did. Doesn't mean Aaron Rodgers cared less. It just means that when you look at one had a lot and the other one had a decent amount, but not as much as the other one. So, I want to also say this, and you guys can read. So, if you haven't been reading already, it's on the slide. But it's very important I say this. Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT, in my opinion. It's based on your definition of greatness to me. They're both great. We judge one because one has 6 Super Bowls in a sport when you need 53 players on a roster. To me, it's impressive. But greatness is based on who was truly the best for me. When I look at greatness, I want to know who was the best player of all time. Greatest of all time means best player of all time. That is why, to me, when we're talking about the NBA, I don't say Bill Russell, who has 11 championships. I would say Michael Jordan or LeBron James, because I felt those two, even Magic Johnson, I felt those 3 are the greatest of all time. They're the best players of all time. When I look at this argument, could Brady do what Rodgers did in Green Bay? Is that fair to say? I think Brady could emulate some of it, but could he have won the Super Bowls that Aaron Rodgers did not? I disagree entirely if you believe that. And that's fine if you believe that. But I don't believe Aaron Rodgers won more Super Bowl or less Super Bowls than Tom Brady would have won if Tom Brady was in Green Bay. Just like I don't think Aaron Rodgers wins less than 6 Super Bowls in New England. Aaron Rodgers doesn't shut down in the playoffs. That's the thing that has people making their argument against Peyton Manning. Tom Brady is a way better postseason quarterback, and that has always been kind of the gripe against, Peyton Manning. But Aaron Rodgers, there isn't a weakness. The weakness is the talent around him. The weakness is the defense, and the weakness was the head coach. At the end of the day, Rodgers is as good as what's around him. He makes everyone better, but Aaron Rodgers scored 45 in a wild card game and couldn't move on to the next round. That's something to keep in mind. So, again, greatness to me is the best. Rodgers' stats show that in lesser talented environment, he is being stuck with Mike McCarthy his whole career. He is, in fact, the better quarterback. I've never seen a quarterback like Rodgers until Patrick Mahomes entered this league. As of today, Tom Brady is incredible. He's the most accomplished quarterback of all time. But Aaron Rodgers is the greatest of all time. And therefore, Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT, in my opinion. So I appreciate you guys watching this. I've been trying to put this together for a while, and things have just kind of gone crazy. So I wanted to get this out before NFL Sunday. That was really my main goal. Mainly because I'd have to update all of Aaron Rodgers' stats after he plays, and it would have been kind of a disparity issue because he would have had more games played than Tom Brady this year. All of that because Tom Brady's on a bye. But regardless, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Really wanted to make a true case for you Tom Brady fans that are, wanting to go in the comments and absolutely, trash this pick. Just understand that I don't think Tom Brady is a bad quarterback at all. I think he's one of the absolute best. I think these are probably the 2 best. But when push came to shove and I had to make a decision, I felt like Rodgers has a lot that he can run with. And it's so incredible because we don't know how long Rodgers or Brady are going to play. Brady said 45. We don't know if he'll do that, but if he does, that's also incredible. So, you got to you got to tip your hats off to these 2 guys, and you have to be thankful. We're lucky to be in this era watching this type of football. You could argue that we've seen, with Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees and Tom Brady. I mean, and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, we could end up being, seeing, 5 or 6 of the top 10 quarterbacks of our generation. And I mean, there are guys like Ben Roethlisberger that don't get enough credit either. So there's all sorts of quarterbacks that we've seen, and we don't know how well, like Russell Wilson, for instance, we don't know where he'll rank all time, but he's up there, as well as Deshaun Watson maybe in the future. So it's just incredible. You just have to be thankful for the talent that we've been able to watch over the years. And at the end of the day, one has to be the GOAT. I pick Rodgers. If you pick Brady, you're not wrong. It's just your opinion. It's my opinion versus yours. But I do believe that Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT. I appreciate you guys for tuning in on this video. Please, please, please share this thing around. I really want to generate some buzz on this. I want everybody that possibly can see this video to see it. Like I said, I wouldn't make a video if I couldn't absolutely back up any claim whatsoever. I put a lot of effort into this, and I wouldn't give you guys any, half-ass material. So, again, hope you guys enjoyed. If you like what you see, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment. Let's have some discussion about this. I'm always down for discussion in the comments. Appreciate you guys, and, have a great NFL Sunday, and I'll be back soon. Later.